It's been packed for players like Alex Eala, Joao Fonseca, seeing the Filipino fans, the Brazilian fans. Have you ever seen anything like that in terms of their commitment to those players?
No, but that's fantastic to see, right? It's all about the growth and the evolving in the tennis world. You know, it's such a global sport. So seeing that, and even watching Fonseca last night against Sinner, which was, you know, maybe the best hitting match so far of the tournament on the men's side, and seeing the Brazilian fans. I mean, that's what you kind of want. You know, you want that new atmosphere. Same for Eala, having all the Philippine fans from coming, you know, to support her. It's fantastic, and you know, supporting the young, the next generation.
What if the most exciting thing happening in women's tennis right now is not a champion lifting trophies, but a young star winning over crowds everywhere she plays? Alexandra Eala has started drawing fans in a way that even seasoned observers find surprising. Stadiums fill quickly, cheers grow louder, and the support continues even after difficult losses. Tommy Hose says the energy surrounding her feels completely unique on the WTA tour. But what makes Eala's connection with fans so powerful?
I want to start by having you tell us, you know, obviously one of the storylines last week was Alex Eala and the massive crowds that she was bringing to Dubai, which is not a tournament that...
And everywhere else that she plays.
Yes, and everywhere else that she plays. I think it was perhaps maybe more notable there because that's not a tournament that is typically packed to the gills. And it was because the Filipino fans had come to watch their player.
If you believe Alexandra Eala is becoming one of the brightest stars in tennis, subscribe and stay tuned for more. The sound inside the stadium did not behave the way tennis crowds usually behave. Instead of the polite applause that normally follows the end of a match, something else began to ripple through the stands. Phones went up, cheers grew louder, and a player who had just lost a match somehow walked off the court looking like the biggest star in the building.
I think everyone is entitled to their own opinion, definitely. And being a public figure, my results are out there, my games are out there. It's inevitable that people will have comments, whether it's positive or negative. And I really appreciate the support, the positivity, and you're entitled to your own opinion, even if it's negative about me. My approach to it is that I have my team, and they will definitely tell me if there's criticism, or, you know, they will definitely provide me with constructive criticism.
That moment alone perfectly captured what has been happening around Alexandra Eala, because this is no longer just a promising young tennis player rising through the rankings. Something far more unusual is unfolding, and even longtime tennis insiders like Tommy Hose are starting to notice that the WTA might be witnessing the arrival of a completely new kind of phenomenon.
Who's doing really, really well here as well. So it's like you see the next generation, the young generation hyping up the tennis world, and that's what it's all about.
I want to ask you about this mixed doubles, because you guys have really thrown a lot of resources behind the mixed doubles. You have legends like Venus Williams deciding to play. What kind of prompted the emphasis on the mixed doubles for this year? And is that something that we're going to hopefully see grow in years to come?
Yes, I think it all really started with the tiebreak tens. You know, we used to have the tiebreak tens where it was just the men, then it was the women's and the singles, and then we kind of decided to say, okay, let's do the mixed doubles.
For decades, professional tennis has followed a familiar rhythm when it comes to fan support. Crowds cheer loudly for champions. They admire rising stars, and they politely applaud players who fight hard even in defeat. Yet, the relationship between fans and players has usually stayed within those predictable boundaries.
Not much. Yeah, I think she played super well. I don't think I was able to find my groove, and nothing clicked for me in today's match. Yeah.
A lot different facing Linda tonight than the juniors, I suppose. It make it difficult to prepare, given that your information is kind of outdated, or?
No.
The biggest legends of the sport earned passionate followings, but those followings tended to grow gradually as trophies accumulated and rankings climbed. What is happening around Alexandra Eala feels completely different, and that difference has become impossible to ignore. Tommy Hose, who has spent most of his life around elite tennis, both as a former top professional and as a respected voice in the sport, recently made it clear that the energy surrounding Eala is something he has rarely seen before. According to Hose, there is a growing sense that whenever Eala steps onto the court, the atmosphere instantly shifts. The crowd suddenly becomes louder, more emotional, and far more invested than usual, as if they are watching a player who already carries the aura of a superstar, even though her career is only just beginning to unfold. The reaction appears to follow an entirely different pattern. Even in matches where the result does not fall in her favor, fans remain in their seats long after the final point. They applaud her effort with the same enthusiasm they would normally reserve for a champion lifting a trophy. Cameras capture crowds standing, waving, and calling out her name as she walks off the court.
I knew that she's an amazing competitor, so when she did kind of step it up that bit in the second, I knew all I could do was just give it my best, and yeah, I think I played extremely well in that third set.
You came into 2026 with 2 WTA main draw wins. You have 4 in 6 days. How do you process that?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think, yeah, it's once I'm finished here, I think, it's going to be awesome to be able to reflect what I have.
Instead of disappointment filling the stadium, there is often an overwhelming sense of appreciation, as though the audience believes they have just witnessed something special regardless of the final score. This unusual loyalty has become especially noticeable during major tournaments where crowds typically divide their attention among dozens of players competing at the highest level. In those settings, most athletes experience the usual ebb and flow of audience interest. But whenever I appears on the schedule, the stands begin to fill earlier and the noise level rises noticeably. It is the kind of reaction usually reserved for household names who have spent years dominating the tour. Not for a young player still writing the first chapters of her professional story. They do not simply watch her matches as spectators hoping for entertainment. They watch as though they are emotionally invested in every point she plays. That kind of connection can transform a career because tennis history shows that players who capture the imagination of the crowd often end up reshaping the entire atmosphere of the sport. Fans bring energy, and energy changes everything from television viewership to tournament excitement. When stadiums become louder and more engaged, the players themselves begin to feel the difference.
She was ranked 137 in the world, and after this past week in Dubai, she's ranked 31. And she's obviously a lefty. I watched her in Miami last year, which was kind of her breakout tournament, and she just frustrated some incredible players there. And I'm wondering if you can tell us, in terms of her actual tennis, what is it that she does so well?
Well, there's a lot of things that she does really well, and I think there's a lot of things that make her opponents feel very uncomfortable. And she has, one of the things that she can't control is that...
The fascinating twist in this story is that many WTA players are experiencing this phenomenon alongside EA in real time. Several competitors have admitted that the fan reaction surrounding her feels unique compared to what they normally encounter on tour. Tennis crowds are usually respectful and supportive, but the emotional investment surrounding Eala has created a completely new dynamic inside stadiums. For players who have spent years competing in front of traditional tennis audiences, this environment can feel unfamiliar. The WTA Tour has always celebrated passionate fans. Yet, the level of devotion surrounding Eala has introduced a new level of intensity that many athletes are still adjusting to. Some players have even described the atmosphere as electric, noting that it feels closer to the energy of a major championship final than an early round match featuring a rising star. What makes the situation even more remarkable is that Eala herself does not appear to chase the spotlight or encourage dramatic attention. In fact, the way she carries herself on and off the court has become one of the main reasons fans...
Vibes. You talk about this being a global sport. How about the Filipino fans? For Alex Eala has become an absolute phenomenon on the courts. This is an early Verizon vantage point on TC Live. Everywhere she goes, she gets swarmed by her fans, Coco.
Swarmed is right, Steve. And look, this is the great thing. The security guard fumbled the rope, and that was almost the worst part of the event. But you can get as close and personal with your favorite players. And that's why I always say this event, the BNP Paribas Open, is the best fan experience you can possibly get. Alex Eala having her first opportunity at the main draw here at Indian Wells.
That's how observers consistently point out that her demeanor reflects a rare combination of humility, discipline, and respect for the sport and for her opponents. This quality became especially evident during a recent match at Indian Wells, where I faced a tough opponent and ultimately fell short of victory. For many young players, a loss in such a high-profile tournament might lead to visible frustration or disappointment that lingers during the post-match handshake. Yet, Eala handled the moment with a calmness that immediately caught the attention of fans and commentators alike. Instead of showing frustration, she offered sincere respect to her opponent and acknowledged the support of the crowd with genuine gratitude. Cameras captured her smiling warmly at the stands, even though the match had not ended the way she had hoped. That simple gesture resonated with fans who recognized that they were watching a player who values the spirit of the sport as much as the results. Moments like that reveal why her fan base continues to grow at such an astonishing pace. Supporters are not only drawn to her skill on the court, but also to the character she demonstrates during both victories and defeats. In a highly competitive environment where pressure often brings out intense emotions, her composure stands out as something refreshingly authentic. Tommy Hose has highlighted this aspect of Eala's personality as one of the key reasons her influence might extend far beyond individual matches. From his perspective, tennis thrives when players bring both competitive fire and genuine respect to the court. When fans witness athletes who compete fiercely while maintaining grace under pressure, the sport itself begins to feel more inspiring.